Everybody has their own opinion about whether your tile system needs to be sealed or not. And I want to help you answer those questions and get you the right material for your project. If you don't know me, my name is Craig and I was a tile installer for over 20 years. And I want to help you navigate getting the right sealer for your project. So let's start with what is a sealer. For lack of better words, a sealer is something that penetrates or lays on top of your tile system that keeps stains from getting in it. Does this mean a sealer makes your system stain proof? No. A sealer only really buys you time. It can give you that flash mentality that you're a superhero, but you don't need the lightning bolts. It buys you time to clean up an accident. I'll give you an example. We were throwing a party one night for New Year's Eve, and we had some couples over to the house. And we had one of our guests, as they were leaving, couldn't remember if he had had both the red and the white wine. He said, "I've had the white wine, but I don't think I had the red wine." And when he did that, he knocked the bottle of red wine over and onto the floor it went. Since I was a tile installer, of course, I had a French limestone kitchen floor. But if you know anything about limestone, it's very porous. So as the wine is trickling onto the floor, my heart dropped a little bit. But I remembered I had sealed this floor with a penetrating, enhancing sealer. This enhancing sealer bought me enough time to get the towels and everything I needed to get this wine off the floor. All was saved. My kitchen floor was not ruined. If it were me that wasn't sure I'd had the red wine and I knocked over the bottle and then decided just to go to bed and not clean it up, the floor would have been ruined by morning. Because even though it was sealed, the sealer buys you time. And after several hours of sitting on the floor, the acids in the wine and everything would have penetrated through the sealer and stained the tile and ruined it. I'm often asked, when do I need a sealer? I'm gonna give you my 3 rules of thumb that I use to answer that question. Do you have a stone tile? Then yes, you need a sealer. Do you have a grout that doesn't have sealer built into it and it's cement based? Then I would suggest a sealer. Do you have a porcelain tile and epoxy grout? Then you probably don't need a sealer. Sealers are not terribly expensive and cheap insurance to protect your job and to help you with maintenance in the future. Most all sealers can fit into 2 categories, a penetrating sealer or a topical sealer. A penetrating sealer is the most common sealer used in the tile and stone industry today. It's a liquid that's thin enough that can penetrate through your tile and leaving behind polymers which clog up the pores, which will block any stain that comes in contact with the material. A topical sealer is just the opposite. It adheres and bonds to the top of the tile, creating a barrier in which a stain should not be able to penetrate. Both of these can be considered stain-resistant solutions, but not stain-proof. Nothing is stain-proof. So now that you've decided you need a sealer, which one do you get? You've got another couple of options. Do you want your tile to look natural just as it did when it came out of the box, or do you want to change the look of it? To change the look of your material, you're gonna get an enhancing sealer, which will give it that wet look, or choose a gloss sealer or a matte sealer that'll kind of add a sheen to your stone. If you don't want to change the look of it, you're gonna choose a sealer that says penetrating sealer, natural finish. Now that you know what type of sealer to get, you should probably like and subscribe before we move on. Number 1 and the most important rule for sealer installation, read the instructions. If the instructions on the bottle that you have purchased are different than what I'm saying, ignore me and read the instructions. Number 2, whatever you're sealing, make sure it's clean. It's hard to get these sealers off once they're installed. So make sure your system is clean. Now that your tile system is clean, you can start with installing the sealer. Most sealers can be installed with a variety of different tools. Just pick whatever your favorite, maybe test out a couple to see which is gonna put the sealer on the best. Number 3, do a test. Get a piece of tile that you didn't install or find an area underneath a piece of furniture that's already been grouted. Take your sealer and test it. Make sure you like the final finish. So do that test, let it dry completely, and then begin to install the rest of the tile system. I suggest installing sealers similar to the way you paint a wall or a car. You do thin layers, letting it penetrate in multiple different applications. The danger is if you put too much sealer on your tile in one go, it can be streaky, and also the sealer can puddle up and dry on top of the tile. So you're gonna take whatever tool you chose. I chose a sponge and I did light coats, evenly distributing the sealer throughout the tile. Now, depending on how porous your tile is gonna depend on how fast that sealer soaks in. The ones that I'm sealing here, it soaks in really fast. Now that you've finished, note on the manufacturer's instructions how long the sealer needs to cure and dry before you can get back on your tile system. Sometimes it's a few hours, sometimes it could be as much as 24, but note that on the instructions. Now that you've installed your sealer, you do have to maintain it. You can't set it and forget it forever. Sealers, even penetrating sealers, can deteriorate over time depending on how they're used. An easy way to test whether your sealer is still active is take some droplets of water, and if you drop the water onto your tile and it absorbs immediately, your sealer's probably degraded and not there anymore. If the water stands up and kind of bubbles up like a freshly waxed car, then your sealer is still working for you. There's no hard and fast rule about when to reseal, but testing it should be done regularly. I suggest quarterly. If you do this process, your stone and tile floor will look like the day you installed it for a very long time. Now that you've installed your own sealer, I want you to check out this video right here. I picked it out for you. It's the next steps. Stay classy. You only need one type of wine, red or white, not both. And let's keep learning together and tile the world.